Good afternoon, distinguished guests, fellow policymakers, and champions of public engagement. It's a privilege to be here as part of the Civis Public Consultation Awards, an initiative that celebrates something both simple and profound, the act of listening in governance. In many ways, these awards are not just about recognizing best practices, they're about reinforcing a larger shift in how we think about policy making itself. Because in today's world, good governance is no longer defined only by how well policies are drafted, but by how meaningfully they are shaped through public participation. Policy was once written for people, today it must be shaped with the people. Public consultation is not merely a procedural requirement, it is the mechanism through which policy becomes grounded in reality. It helps us understand how people actually behave, identify gaps between design and delivery, and anticipate unintended consequences. Most importantly, it builds trust because when people see their inputs reflected in outcomes, institutions gain legitimacy. This is increasingly relevant in a world where citizens are now more informed, more connected, and more willing to engage in the governance process. And this is especially critical in areas like pension, where decisions made today affect financial security decades into the future. I would like to share at PFRDA how we have integrated this philosophy into our DNA over the last few years, transforming the national pension system into a truly subscriber-centric wealth engine. Institutionalizing the listen-first approach, we have moved beyond viewing public consultation as a procedural hurdle. In late 2024, PFRDA institutionalized this by notifying the mechanism for making and review of regulations, a regulation itself. This framework ensures that every decision we make is 1, evidence-based, 2, transparent. Every draft regulation is placed in the public domain for a minimum of 30 days. 3, accountable. We don't just collect feedback, we are mandated to review it and explain the rationale behind our final choices. Subsequently, this mechanism was put to test. We undertook a comprehensive review of 9 regulations by placing these draft amendments on our portal, receiving a deluge of insights from individual subscribers, fintech innovators, and legacy financial institutions. This crowdsourced wisdom allowed us to modernize the investment ecosystem in a way that closed-room committees never could have. Turning feedback into action. When we talk about responsive and participative regulation, it must translate into tangible benefits for the citizen. In the pension sector, the impact of regulation is particularly long-term. Decisions taken today affect retirement outcomes decades later. Therefore, integrating shareholder feedback during policy design becomes essential. Over the last year, several landmark reforms have been directly shaped by feedback received from subscribers, pension funds, intermediaries, and industry experts. The introduction of the UPS, Unified Pension Scheme, for government employees implemented on 1st of April 2025, set a new benchmark for certainty. While framing the regulations for the UPS, extensive consultations were undertaken with stakeholders and the public. To facilitate wider participation, a dedicated web portal was created where stakeholders could submit comments on specific regulatory provisions. This made the consultation process more structured, accessible, and transparent. The feedback received during this process was carefully analyzed and categorized, and key issues were placed before the relevant committees and the authority for consideration before the regulations were finalized. In keeping with the spirit of transparency, responses to commonly raised issues were also published on the PFRDA website. The exit revolution, from rigidity to flexibility. The most persistent feedback received about the NPS system was the locked-in nature. Subscribers felt that 40% compulsory annuitization at the age of 60 was too rigid. often locking their hard-earned money into low-yielding products that didn't keep pace with inflation. We listened in our December 2025 modification of the exit regulations. We fundamentally re-engineered the payout phase for non-government subscribers. The result is a more flexible structure. For corpuses exceeding 12 lakhs, we changed the script. Subscribers were now able to withdraw up to 80% as a lump sum, requiring only 20% to be annuitized. Full access for smaller savers. We raised the threshold for 100% lump sum withdrawal to rupees 8 lakhs. This ensures that those with smaller savings are not forced into tiny, inefficient monthly pensions, but have the liquidity to manage their retirement needs on an immediate basis. Staggered payouts by introducing systematic unit redemptions and lump sum withdrawal payments, systematic payments. These allow subscribers to keep their money invested in the market while drawing a regular tax-efficient income. These reforms demonstrate how user feedback, when properly analyzed and integrated, can directly shape regulatory outcomes that better serve the citizens. Modernizing of investment. The world of finance is moving ever faster. Feedback from industry participants highlighted the need to strengthen investment governance and expand asset choices. To ensure that the NPS remains a world-class product, we recently constituted the Committee of Investment Experts for Strategic Asset Allocation and Risk Governance. This is chaired by a particular gentleman, Mr. Narayan Ramachandran, with a bunch of experts in that committee. The mandate of this SARG committee is a direct response to industry calls for sophisticated investment choices. The committee is currently benchmarking our guidelines against global leaders to introduce new asset classes, refine risk governance, and perhaps most importantly, expand subscriber choice. We want to ensure that whether you're a conservative saver or an aggressive investor, the NPS architecture has room designed specifically for your risk appetite and tolerance levels. Again, this initiative emerged from a simple principle. Listening carefully to market participants helps regulators anticipate the future needs of the ecosystem. The NPS Swasthya, pension meeting healthcare. We are, as some researchers and financial experts say, just one medical emergency away from absolute penury. Feedback from the ground highlighted a grim reality. For many retirees, a medical emergency can wipe out a decade of pensions in a single week. Thus came the idea of one of the innovations, which is currently in a regulatory sandbox, called the NPS Swasthya Pension Scheme. This allows subscribers to allocate a portion of their corpus specifically for healthcare. It would provide features like direct settlement of claims with hospitals, partial withdrawals for outpatient care. By integrating health security with income security, we are moving more towards a holistic definition of social security. And I must say that there's not a single word of the term insurance doesn't figure anywhere, so we're very careful that there should be no regulatory overlaps, which otherwise does happen. The road ahead. The NPS Divas consultation paper, Assured Payouts. Perhaps the most ambitious example of our Listen First policy is the consultation paper released in September 25. The launch of UPS actually reignited the demand for assured benefits in the private sector too, and prompted PFRDA to propose similar frameworks. The consultation paper signals a paradigm shift for our pension funds. They will no longer be merely pass-through entities during an accumulation phase. This market-generated, capital-backed assurance is the cornerstone of the trust we aim to build. This sparked significant interest in whether similar structures could evolve for the wider population. And further to this consultation, I must mention that the Assured Payouts project, it is market linked. We recognize that a segment of our population seeks the comfort of a guarantee. It is something that is not really explored, and therefore we have the Dr. Sahu committee, he's right here amongst us, and a 15-member expert panel along with him, which is working on a regulatory framework for devising market-based assured payouts. The inputs we received in the consultation paper have been the primary driver for this committee's work. This exercise illustrates the true value of consultation. Policy ideas evolve and mature through a dialogue with stakeholders. In conclusion, the journey of PFRDA over the last couple of years proves that the consultation is not a sign of weakness, it is a source of strength. When we listen to the subscriber who wants more liquidity, we created the exit rule of 80%. When we listen to the industry that wants better risk management, we created the SARG committee. When we listen to the rural citizen, we have now linked with FPOs for a much wider distribution framework. The distance between a regulator and a citizen should be as short as possible. Public consultation helps regulators design better, smarter, and more responsive regulations while strengthening trust in institutions. So therefore, the Civis Public Consultation Award is very important as they recognize institutions that are getting consultations right, and more importantly, they create a culture where listening is valued. So therefore, the future of governance will not be defined by how much we regulate, but maybe by how much we listen. And more importantly, how well we listen. Ultimately, the success of any system lies not just in how it is designed, but how well it reflects the people it serves. Thank you very much.